Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this particular video, I will be covering a story that has just come out in the news today. As of today, a Texas man by the name of John Ruben Dimitri, something along those lines. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Regardless, in the story, this particular man was arrested because he gave his girlfriend an abortion pill which he had crushed up and slipped in her drink, which eventually led to the murder of his unborn daughter. Or at least that's what the man is charged with. Now, you might say, well, this is Texas. It's a Republican state. Yes. And in this Republican state, it's not women going to jail. Now let's place an analysis behind this particular story based on my own personal opinion in terms of the questions. In the idea that the story covers in the news that this man who slipped his girlfriend an abortion pill is now going to jail for murder of his unborn 14-week daughter. Now, men can go to jail essentially for causing an abortion in women. Now, I'm not going to argue a stance saying, well, what about women? What about women? What about women? That's not the point that I'm trying to make here. But in the idea of essentially saying to women, it's your body, it's your choice. Now, in this particular statement, if I am allowed to place it, if a woman has a choice, and in her choice it is not deemed as murder, then why is it seen as murder when a man does it? Because it's a woman's body. Okay. In the allegations, it is said in said story that he slipped and crushed this abortion pill into her drink. Now, knowing that abortion pills have two pills, this story might not all of a sudden make complete sense. Because you're essentially meant to take the first pill and then 10 hours later take the second. Now, in this particular story, it states that after he crushed a pill, she went to the hospital and delivered her 14-week baby in an abortion. Where can we place the second pill in this story? As far as we know, it's not placeable. In the story, it states the mother wanted to keep the child, and because the mother wanted to keep the child and the father murdered it, he goes to jail. But what happens when the father wants the child and the mother doesn't? Well, essentially it's a woman's body at that point, even though there is a different individual body growing inside of her body. In her understanding, said body inside her belongs to her. Completely right. She's the mother. But now let me ask you this question. How many women get secret abortions without ever telling their partner, whom possibly might have wanted to keep said child? But because, as a man, I'm not in your body all the time. Unless if you tell me I don't know what your cycle is. And unless if you specifically display a prolonged pregnancy, I wouldn't be able to tell anything at that particular point. And so the question arises, if a man can go to jail for giving a woman an abortion, why can't a woman for getting one? It's seen as murder when a man does it, but it's seen as a freedom for women to do it. And one might argue it's their body. Okay, point proven. It's your body that's growing inside of you. Let's back away from the pro-life argument for a second, and let's dive into the reality behind the abortion pill. Now, in this particular story, it states the young mother who wanted to keep said baby ended up essentially miscarrying the baby in the hospital after being slipped an abortion pill. Now, I'm not giving this guy an excuse to say, whoa, hold on, you're gonna slip women addiction or abortion pills now? And that's acceptable? No, no, no. And so to the healthcare providers who don't tell the truth to women regarding the abortion pill. In this two-part abortion pill, which is a chemical abortion, it essentially causes your uterus to release said fetus. But the problem remains now where you're going to end up releasing it. And this is where the trauma begins in women that have undergone an abortion pill through Planned Parenthood. Essentially what happens is the doctors will tell you if you take this pill, the tissues of the fetus will dissolve and it will just flush out, essentially, bodiless. But that's not what actually happens. All the pill does, this chemical abortion pill does, is it just induces labor. And it causes you to essentially release it. Now, in this particular labor, where are you going to deliver your abortion? Turns out, you're going to deliver the baby in a toilet bowl. And when you stand up, you're going to see a little baby about this little thing with arms, 10 toes, 10 fingers, legs, a head, and you might possibly see its heart beating. They don't tell women this in Planned Parenthood. And as a result, most women that have undergone a Planned Parenthood, their experience of depression is so severe as a result of pursuing this false, you could say, slipping of this abortion pill, which technically the doctor is not lying. He's going to give you an abortion. He's not telling you the truth either, because he's not telling you that this baby is going to come out whole. All that a chemical abortion pill is, it's literally a birth-inducing pill. It causes you, as the woman seeking to abort, to induce labor. And you just release it into a toilet bowl, which you'll flush down. That's another life I don't have to care about. Or is it? Because look at the impact it's taking upon you as a woman that might have pursued this. Let's not place blame here. Because in the idea that I can easily place the blame on a woman saying, how dare you go get an abortion, I can easily say to you as a man, how dare you sleep with women without wrapping it up? It feels better. Oh, well, might feel better for you. Doesn't feel better for her. And if I'm going to place women and blame them for my irresponsibility as a man, who's truly at fault? It takes two to make one. So who's truly at fault? In the understanding of a man's seed, what would you say if I plant a seed in a fertile environment? Well, the seed would sprout, it would develop and grow from said seed. What is a man's sperm? It's a seed. And a woman provides a fertile environment in her womb for said seed to grow. Now, as a man, I don't have to carry said developing being, this developing human. I don't have to hold that in me. So, in that particular statement, if I'm going to act irresponsibly, if I'm going to act irresponsibly as a man, I can't expect a woman to act responsibly either. Now, in the popularizing idea that apparently sex is a carnal need, you just infinitely have to have it. Both men and women of all varying younger ages. It seems that's the ultimate thing in life. Okay, it is, because that ultimate thing in life results in creation of life, which is how you were created. Now, in the idea that Planned Parenthood might state that up until a certain point, said fetus is not technically a human, which means it has zero rights. And if this fetus has zero rights, technically, it's not murder. Do you see the dilemma here? If I can't respect life, why should I expect life to respect me? It's a good question. It has nothing to do regarding placing blame on either men and women. Simply just a question, a statement. If I can't respect life, why should life respect me? And you might say, this is the fault of a man giving it to a woman without her knowing that the consequence of this abortion would result in that. Now, this is essentially, and this is a big point of this argument, because you see, if a man is charged with murder for not disclosing to his girlfriend that he was drugging her with an abortion pill because he didn't want that baby, but she did, so he goes to jail because he did not disclose to his girlfriend that he was going to do that. That's an impingement or an infringement of your rights as a woman to your body autonomy at this particular point. Because he didn't disclose the full truth. And so regarding Planned Parenthood doctors who seem to just dispense it like candy. And this candy essentially is not leading kids to the van. Yet it's resulting in the same thing. Where are the children? Now, life is life. At which point does life start is the big question. Some might argue that life begins at conception, meaning when the sperm infuses with the egg, human life, right? That's the notion behind fertilization. The moment of conception equals the creation of a human life. Some might argue that the first breath is the ignition point of life. Until then, this being is not alive, is what they claim. And I've heard another statement that your life doesn't begin until you are dependent or independent, which means that could happen at any particular point in your adulthood. Then I consider you a life. Where might we see what actually seems like a reasonable thing to say? Where might you place the moment life begins? At conception, at the first breath, or the moment you acquire your independence as a young adult? Because see, if I can't place where does life begin, then life doesn't matter. And when it comes to school shootings, all of a sudden, well, you didn't care for those children, why should you care for those? If I can't place a statement regarding what is the beginning portion of human life, this is not a pro-choice or pro-life argument. It's simply meant to be regarding Why is it that when one does it, it's seen as murder, but when another, it's not? And when a doctor does it to you, liberating. But if a man does it without disclosing the truth, he goes to jail. If a doctor goes and not discloses the truth, no problem. Yet it's you as a woman that's left essentially with the pain. It is the woman's body that the baby develops within. Now, in this particular carrying of the child, if the argument that life begins at the first breath of oxygen, did you know that oxygen is already coursing through that baby's body in womb? There's an umbilical cord. It's attached to the woman's or the mother's system, which means anything she intakes, the baby develops from and becomes life. Did you know that, as an example, on a sunny day, close your eyes and look up at the sun. You might see the world completely red at this particular point because your eyelids are essentially shielding your eyes. But now wave your hand in front of your face as you look at the sun. You might see, even within an enclosed space. Did you know that a child in the womb can see its external world? The spectrum at which it sees it clearly is all dependent on how formed their eyes are. Notice how a baby might begin to move. And if movement is an indication of life, is that a fair thing to say, that movement is an indication of life? But what happens when it's the cells that move and not the entire body? Do you still count it as a life? Now, away from the entire argument of this is a life or this is not. Forget the children at this particular point. Let's talk the parents. If the idea is that unless if you are financially stable, have a job, career, education, vehicles, home, on and on and on. The essential argument is, unless if you have all of these things, you should not be having children. I would agree. And in that particular statement, unless if you have all of these things, you should not be having sex either. That's a tough one. I like sex. Can't give that up. I'm addicted. Ooh, addiction. Boom. That's the big problem here. We live in a sex-addicted society. Drug addiction, sex addiction, mix the two together and boom, you're in for a wild ride. Which, a couple weeks from now, you might have to take care of something. So in the idea of educating is not to place blame on people, but to simply say, be smarter regarding how you live your life. Because you're not just living and influencing your life at this particular point. Everyone is affected by this. Do you know how many men or women could have children by now? But that choice wasn't theirs to make, whether you were a man or a woman. That choice was not yours to make. You don't get to say between each other, hey, let's get married so we can have children. No. Why might marriage be sacred in the first place? Because you're giving a lifelong commitment to your partner and your offsprings. And the moment we entered into the idea of, I want a divorce, you're essentially telling your children at that particular point, sorry, can't make a commitment to you. And now we see why these individuals that could not have a commitment made towards them from their parent, you might now see the mentality behind why they themselves can't make a commitment towards their child. Now, in ending this dark topic on a particular lighter note, if a child is an innocent, and only the innocent can enter heaven, meaning they are not sinners, they have not sinned, they are not guilty, they are innocent. If a child is innocent and they die, there's only one place they can go. Thank you.